Welcome to Tips and Tricks Tuesdays. Last week I did a video on double tonguing with some unique thoughts or perspectives that I've come up with, and hopefully you've come across that. Made me realize I should probably just talk about my thoughts on tonguing in general. So let me start with saying the most efficient tongue is the tongue that moves the least. Duh, right? For those that don't know, I have a background obviously in playing the horn, but I was a music educator, band director for 15 years. I mean, I'm still a music educator. I don't technically do band anymore. But I've noticed something in my 20-ish years of teaching is that many students struggle with fast articulation. And I've come to some conclusions on why I think that is, and that's what I'm going to share with you. But I wanted to mention why I'm a band director, why that's important. Is so most band books, because that's usually where kids get started. It's rare for a student to get started from the very beginning with a horn professional. Now it happens, and when it does happen, I think that's great. So if you're a band director, you might want to pay attention to this. This is a thought I have. So most band books in the early developmental stage, the only articulation they do at the maximum speed is probably 8 notes. But if you think about it logically, it's usually, you start with whole notes and then half notes and quarter notes, etc. And so what I've noticed is horn players or brass players in general tend to get set up with just a simple explanation of, say, the word ta or to or toe or some syllable, which for simplicity's sake, it's a great way to get everyone to kind of find the motion. But here's the problem, in my humble opinion. As the speed of articulation gets faster, if the muscle memory of articulation is something like toe or ta or t, that works for whole notes, ta, ta, or quarter notes, ta, 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 maybe even eighth notes, ta, 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 ta. What about 16th notes? Now this is where I would demonstrate this. A lot of times students would laugh at me because it looks like this. 16th notes with a ta motion or ta 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 ta. That's just too much motion. So to tie this all in, for me it's simply that's all it takes. It's this motion. So again, tip of the tongue, whatever you want to call, T position. But if this is the teeth and this is the tongue, it's this. That's all it is. It's a tiny bit of motion. And so that's the first thing I would say is if you are struggling with articulation, especially fast, it's probably because you're just moving too much. So a simple thing is, can you sizzle it? Can you figure out how to make that the motion? Another reason this is so important is I'm of the belief that the high range on the horn is easier or effortless if the tongue is in the E or higher position. So if a student is tonguing like this, they're training themselves to think of everything, the tongue too low. So this is another reason why getting the right spot for articulation is important. So I'm going to demonstrate starting on top line F. Okay, I just did an octave chromatically, right? And the whole time I was just going t t t t t, right? This leads to another thought on articulation, especially band directors where I pay attention. Once you establish a decent sound with your band or whatever, I think it is imperative to start getting students to tongue fast. But the problem with the books and the sequence of many books is they don't do that. So, take a simple scale, or let's just say you're a home bass note. Most likely home bass usually is a concert F or concert B flat. I don't know. But let's just say it's concert F for some reason. Okay? Just have them go. And then you could go to your next note, etc., etc., etc. So the point I'm trying to make here is that one of the biggest mistakes in development of horn and brass in general, I think, is to not introduce fast tonguing. Another way to think of it is if they're having to tongue fast, then their tongue doesn't have time to get in the wrong position. I hope that makes sense, but this is just, again, a quick thought on articulation and how I teach it, why I believe what I believe, and just a little explanation of how, if kids are set up wrong articulation-wise, the effects it has long-term on the horn. And my experience is high range suffers dramatically when tonguing is taught with that kind of ta, ta, ta. And then if you stumbled upon my double tonguing video, double tonguing is a natural extension of this type of tonguing. If your tongue is on the right spot, right, that feels supernatural. Supernatural. It feels very natural for me to double tongue and do it very efficiently and clear and effortlessly, because it's a natural extension of what I'm already doing for an efficient single tongue. All right, that's a lot of information packed into a short amount of time, but that is my tips and tricks for this week on articulation. Hope that was helpful. All resources can be found at wvhornacademy.com. Thank you very much.